Are we live? Looks like we are live. Welcome, everyone, to the John Lavenia Success Mastermind book study. I am John Lavenia with, look at this cast of characters we got. I do mean characters. We got Bob here. Hey, Catherine. Kim's here. Lindsay. Mark, I think this is your first book study group. Welcome to you, sir.
It is.
All right. Mark's in the house. This is, of course, brought to you by the paying members of the John Lavenia Success Mastermind, some of which are in the room here with us right now. And some are just on the way. If I seem out of breath, it's because it's been that kind of a day. Let me just get in present time for a moment here. All right, I'm in present time. Hi, everybody. Today we're reading chapters 3, 4, and 5 from Working with the Law by Raymond Hollywell. Hopefully you've read them. This is about the law of supply. I really love this book. It's a classic. I know it's heavily leaning on Christianity. Great. So let's see. We got the law of supply, the law of attraction, which has been kicked around a lot in our, certainly in entrepreneurial circles in the self-help world. People like to talk about the law of attraction and the secret, just attracting what you want. And then the law of receiving. So law of supply, attraction, and receiving. And as is tradition with our book study group, I'd like to start by opening it up for those of you who have read these chapters and who have had some sort of a cognition, a light bulb turned on. Please feel free to come out and tell me what stuck with you, and then we'll have some more conversations about some of the stuff that stuck with me. So who would like to come on out? Don't be afraid. You know the drill. Usually I can get Lindsay to talk first.
I can talk.
Hey, Lindsay. So supply, attraction, and receiving, 3 of the laws.
I thought that was when he said, if you don't have I can't remember how it was worded and I don't have my notes. But you don't have the desire unless there is a demand. And I was like,
yeah.
I was like, yeah, you're right.
So I think what you're referring to is that the fact that you have a desire is evidence that there is supply for that desire.
Yes.
Like you cannot conceive of something that just isn't.
Right.
Right. Well, there's some evidence for you. There's a little bit of reassurance and confidence that perhaps you're not barking up the wrong tree with, unachievable goals and, you can't have that.
Just the herd don't want you to think you can have it doesn't mean that.
Yeah. There was even a part in it was a chapter 5 where he was talking about, if people, regardless of what people think about this, assuming that they even do think, then, this could be their assumptions. So he's kind of a little bit abrasive, well, whatever you think, assuming you do, you might not, but yeah, you see why I like this book.
Yeah. Oh yeah, don't worry about what people think. Most people don't.
There you go. They probably don't. Beautiful stuff, Lindsay. Glad you're here. So the supply is unlimited, and the fact that we've got a desire, it should be evidence enough that that supply exists, right? So I don't know if we can make up some words that don't mean anything, and I can go around the room and ask you guys, how bad do you really want a Quercy-Watt, right? Quercy-Watt, yeah, Quercy-Watt. I can't have a Quercy-Watt, yeah, because it doesn't freaking exist. But if it did exist, there would be some people who that would be on your path to experience Quercy-Watt and to be the ownership of such Quercy-Watts in your life. It's hard for a wordsmith to invent words on the fly. I'm so damn interested in what words mean. For me to come up with just utter poppycock is actually difficult for me. So awesome. Thank you, Lindsay. Who else has some thoughts on the law of supply and attraction and receiving? Now, Bob, I know you've got your head in this stuff. Bob knows a lot. Got any thoughts on this, Bob?
Because I'm married to Missy.
Yeah, you've got endless material. Where is Missy? Is she there?
She is working, actually. Yeah, she felt compelled to to be more in her design tonight.
Mhm.
She expresses her apologies and regrets to the group, but
You
she,
always catch the replay. You know what? I heard Bob, never stop a working man or woman, right?
she's in overdrive.
Yeah,
She's in
good.
overdrive right now. It's all about one word: creation.
Mhm.
And the substance that's out there just needs to be informed, and our thoughts inform the substance. And so this ties back into the thoughts are things. What has all that is originated with a thought, anybody's thought, somebody's thought, God's thought. And there's nothing that is that wasn't first an idea. So it's really a matter of what's your idea.
Mhm.
What is your idea? And that which you send forth as an idea will come back to you.
Mhm. What'd you think about, let me ask you this, Bob, because he talked about desire plus expectation. But to desire one thing and to expect another is pretty fruitless. Actually,
Yes,
it could be counterproductive. We're just blowing a bunch of energy on daydreaming, but not actually doing the work.
right.
Right. Mhm. So I guess this comes down to a question of faith. Do you believe you can actually accomplish it? Do you expect it? And because you expect it, are you applying attention with intention, right? Or are we just kind of hoping that, that the gods smile upon us or something, and how fortuitous or not, right? So yeah, creation, causation, co-creation, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
precisely. And you you put it very well. You have to have attention with intention.
Mhm.
Many people do things with attention to what they're doing, but with no intention of the end.
Mm.
And then there are people who have the intention of the end, but don't pay attention to what they're doing. And so as a result, uh, it's a journey that goes nowhere, if it even
Mm.
goes at all.
Right, right. And haven't we all seen that? Thank you, Bob. Haven't we all seen where people gave, an amateurish or careless effort, if they efforted at all, just kind of like, I'm just doing the minimum to not get fired over here, right? So I'm on my lunch break, so to speak, and they're endlessly on lunch breaks here, right? And by the sweat of their brow, if they even break a sweat. Whereas we've seen in the example he gave in that chapter on supply and on attraction, he was talking about the guy who worked late at the railroad, and now he's the vice president of one of the
Yes.
largest railroads, in the nation or whatever. And so that was applied intention with great attention. And what I like the word diligence, which comes from the Latin root word decidere, which means to take delight in. So I'm delighted in the supply that is being delivered right on schedule, and I fully expect it. Okay. By the way, I could say those words better than I can live it. It's, easier said than done, so to speak, because here's all the appearances, which I know Missy is into, talking about, because we've got plenty of appearances, which are very seductive, about why you can't, or, problems, limitation, lack, et cetera, all very nice, right? But I've got to be like Wallace Wattles talked about, to think truth contrary to appearances is laborious, right? To remember the truth. And the truth is, hey, it's being delivered right on schedule. It's the Father's good pleasure to give me the kingdom. What am I here griping about conditions and circumstances, right? Now, do that in the thick of it. That's why it's hard, right? I think, to walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And yeah, okay, it's all going to work out. I forget sometimes. It's easy to forget. Who else? Who else has some thoughts on this? Working with the law. Did you guys read the chapters? I thought they were like, boom. Yeah. The way he put it into a scientific explanation. Linda, you've got a hot mic. Linda, you want to talk?
Yeah. Well, I'm driving, so I might lose you, but
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the whole water and this, the stream and, moving forward, not caring about the obstacles, always moving, don't let it stop you.
Mm-hmm.
Always doing things on the positive vibration.
Mm-hmm.
So, and always, I think I just finished the chapter of flower forgiveness, so that one's kind of in my head. We're not on that yet, but
no, it's a great chapter though. We're going to get to that. Is that next week? Increase compensation and non-resistance. No, so you're way ahead in the book. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. All right. Well, I'll let you drive. Sorry to put you on the spot like that. Give you a couple of the tips. Linda, you good? You good to drive? I guess so. Okay, I'm not hearing Linda. Okay, so a couple of things, and Lindsay came right out with it right at the outset, which was this whole idea of supply being unlimited, and that we need not take thought to, where's it coming from, or is this even possible, or is it even good and right for me to have this desire? When we reviewed the last book that we reviewed, which was my first book, Integrity is Everything, we got into a bit of a conversation about my postulate, which is that my innermost desire is actually God's will for me. So it's not a smart question to ask, I wonder, God willing, or, I wonder what God's will for me is. Wrong question. Where are you going in life, John? And there's your answer, right? What is it that you get a white hot passion for? And that could be in terms of things that we, of course, want to experience as receipt points, as things that I'd like that new car. Okay, fine. Well, they're building cars for somebody. Let me go celebrate their craftsmanship and give them $100,000 for that, piece of art. Could also be in the experience of my service, that which my work, right? That which I could serve my fellow man with. Do I take delight in that? Right? Is that something that I'm really interested in? Because interest renders aptitude, is what we talked about in that book. And look, this guy influenced me before I ever read that book. But what's interesting is there are things that I forgot that I read from this guy, which keep showing up in my life. Because when we talk about law, we're talking about things that can't be broken. In other words, it's above principles. It's above my opinion. And I know a lot of times in the self-help world and the bestseller list, and we got the law of this and the secret of that, and oh my goodness, it sells books. It's nice. But is it really law? Well, only if you can't break it, right? If I could violate the law, let's say gravity, for example. Okay. If I could violate that, well, then I guess it's not quite a law, is it? A guideline, a suggestion, perhaps. No, you can't break that law. You can only break yourself against the law. Jump off the building, see what happens, right? You lose. Every time, gravity always wins. So that's the kind of approach that I've attempted to have with this stuff going forward, and actually using it in my life. For those in here in our mastermind group, as members, we had our general session this morning, and we talked about a couple of the points that I got out of the law of attraction chapter, namely the idea of focused attention. Because we expect, not just desire, but we expect. The example he used in the book was the mouse to come out. So here's the cat with its attention so damn focused, taking delight in the idea of catching mice and expecting to catch mice, hence fixity of attention on the task at hand and the achievement of that task. No matter what distractions, the wind's blowing, lightning, all hell's breaking loose, I'm going to catch me a mouse. Okay. Now, of course, the cat cannot consciously, it's not conscious of its own consciousness. It can't, say to itself, I'm thinking consciously about, the capture of mice and evaluating the pros and cons of whether or not it's good and right for me to catch mice. I mean, cats don't have this conversation. The example I brought up in my book is that, the oak tree, one example, the oak tree doesn't have a conversation with itself about whether or not it's worthy to be, so much taller than the little ferns and the shrubberies and stuff, right? I'm the oak tree, right? And this doesn't have any counter intention about it. It's just, I'm the oak tree, and that's it. We screw it up, right? All the thinking about it and all the considerations. I asked, was it Linda, who's on here and who's driving right now. Linda and I had a great conversation about some business stuff where she was talking about being decisive or indecisive, right? So we know, any of us who've read a lot of this sort of thing, like Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and other texts, talks about how successful people have formed a habit of making decisions promptly and of changing slowly, if ever. And of course, unsuccessful people, without exception, take a long time to make a decision, and they change their minds quickly and often, right? So indecision is the enemy. So we got to talking about this, and I remember asking Linda, I don't know if you remember, I don't remember if you recall this, but I asked Linda, it was in one of our groups, so what is the component parts of indecision? And we came up with the answer. The best answer we could come up with was considerations. Considerations. Yeah, but what about that? Right? All the maybes, all the considerations. Not definite, not defined. Right? Lots of buts. Okay. Big buts, little buts. Considerations. So once we've made a conclusion, there's no more considerations. I mean, the whole point of observing, life and setting goals and making decisions and seizing opportunity and carpe diem, seizing the carp and all this stuff is to come to a conclusion, not to sit there in an endless state of self-deliberation. So if we apply that definiteness, and this is what he was talking about, I think, in the law of attraction, where he talked about, let me get the quote here. Usually I use a Kindle so I can highlight stuff and share my screen. The first phase is desire. The second phase is expectation. The underlying law that regulates supply. So we already talked about the law of supply. So here it is. How can we appropriate that? How can we appropriate supply? Because you can have whatever experience that you desire to have by appropriation. And so the law that regulates supply in the world of effects has two important phases. One is desire, and the other is expectation. These mental attitudes represent lines of attractive force, the former being the positive phase of the law, and the latter being the negative phase, while phases must be complied with to obtain the best and greatest results. So back to what we were just talking about with Bob a little bit, here's my desire. I want that success, that result, that whatever it is. Won't it be nice if the gods smile upon me? Because I can't do it. I'm going to try. Are you hearing definiteness right now? Or are you hearing considerations? Right. I'm going to try. What's the rest of that conversation that's going on here? Yeah, but here's my intention, and here's all the unspoken counter intentions. Fighting, constant fight. Okay. So while I may have this desire and it may be taking up a lot of mental energy, here I am, like really, I could sit here, I can chant, I can burn incense, I could look at dream boards and everything else. But am I expecting it? What's the barometer he gives us? The quality of our attention. The quality of our attention. Are you going to catch that mouse, Mr. Cat? Or are you just going to try? And now we know that we're on the right path. Okay. And guess what? The universe notices, right? The universe includes people like you and me, right? I notice when Mark shows up and is diligent in his work, and how he occurs in my life. Why? Because of the quality of his attention. And this, I don't mean for this to sound mystical. The whole premise of this book is that it's scientifically provable. It's law, just like gravity. Okay. And yet we can deny it because it's rather subjective, right? Well, I did try. And like when he gets into this next chapter, the law of receiving. I did, and I like how he, he talked about the law of receiving, which is very attractive to the reader. Yeah, I'm gonna get, and then the whole damn chapter is about giving. Oh, that's how I apply the law of receiving. Oh, bait and switch. I see what you're doing, Mr. Hollywell. right? But the idea, oh yeah, I've given so much, but I have such meager recompense, and oh, it just hasn't come back. But what did Scripture say? Given it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down and running over, right? So if we're expecting that, then what he's talking about here in this chapter, and this was so huge for me, is that when we put forth, when we give, because we got to give before we get, is what he was saying. But when we give, we release. Think of giving and releasing now. They're two different words, but think about giving an intention and then releasing it. No need to sit there and do, as Waddle said, occult methods and conjure the spirits and, oh my goodness, right. Release it, knowing that it's heard. Just like the radio station that sent the broadcast over that frequency. And then any receiving stations that are capable of reproducing it can hear the signal, right? Hear the music or whatever is being broadcasted, right? The broadcaster doesn't sit there, looking for feedback on, was that received by station X over in, 1,000 miles away? I know it can be. And I know in the case of radio, obviously, there's wavelengths, and I know a bit about radio because I'm a ham radio operator, and there's, certain distance and propagation and stuff like that. But we're talking about thought. It is not subjected to physical laws, lower laws, right? Physical universe, material, matter, energy, space, and time. Right now, we're talking about something that transcends that it is received, and you can bet on it that it's received. Oh yeah, it's received. Okay, so we're going to sit there and keep clinging to it, like hoping for a sign. Give me a sign. Where's the faith? Where's the faith in that? I'll say one more thing, and then I'm going to open it up again. He talked about the parable of the talents in here. To him who hath shall be given. To him who hath not shall be taken even that which he hath. So if I'm here to receive, and I expect to receive, so I know there's supply. So these are the 3 chapters we covered: supply, attraction, and receiving. So I know there's supply. I've got nothing to do with that except appropriate it. How do I do that? By attracting it through desire and expectation, which is revealed by the quality of my attention, which I then release. And now I've got what? I've got my attention back, so I can go do the receiving actions, which is what? Apply my full attention to the work at hand. Yes, setting up the receiving pipelines, which is the way that I appropriate the supply. That's how we do it. Okay, we release, we give our intention, and then with purpose and faith, we put our attention on how can I now serve my fellow man? How can I now provide benefits into the marketplace? How can I show up as the advancing man, the advancing woman, as the person who impresses others with increase, so they want to do what? Exchange with me, right? How many times, Lindsay, perfect example. How many times have I never even expected that I would meet someone who would become a personal friend, a client, a colleague, right? I think Lindsay and I met years ago, and some wacky, online business deal isn't even in business anymore, right? And yet here we are years later, and we've done other business together. We do business together currently, but and she's a member of the mastermind group, and she's awesome, and so how much good has come from my willingness to show up and go do the John Lavenia thing, like really do it, like really friggin' deliver. I don't even know who's watching. We're broadcasting on YouTube right now. There's probably going to be a couple people that watch this. I mean, it's not quite as entertaining as kitten videos and whatever the latest, pop. Kelly, what's the latest pop artist? Is it Shakira? I don't even know.
You're asking the wrong one, but my granddaughter was showing me this little puppy dog falling out of a hammock. It was quite funny.
Okay, right. So the point is, there's more entertaining things that you could be tuning into right now. Okay. But for those, many are called, few are chosen. But for those who have chosen themselves and decided, you know what, I'm going to go make something of myself. I'm going to go do this whole personal development thing and like really put this stuff to use, because I'm tired of being, broke, sick, miserable, whatever. Right. I'm tired of that. I wonder if there's something that can be done about it. This John Lavenia guy says something can be done about it. Oh, well, let's read a book then, because apparently Well, as Johann Goethe said, all intelligent thoughts have already been thought. We just got to think of them again. Well, remind me what that guy said. Oh, fantastic. I see. Oh, holy shit. I could do that in my life right now. I could stop being so damn pathetic. Well, sign me up. Now I'm entertained. Now I'm entertained, damn it. And so when we show up fully with attention and having released our intention, we don't have to sit there and account for, like on a spreadsheet, God forbid, well, I put out this much goodwill, and so this much needs to come back. And it's like the idea of tithing, right? So he talks about tithing in here, which is a structured way of using the law of receiving, which is all about what part you play in that, which is giving. The receiving is automatic, okay? But can you do something systematically to support the source of, let's say, spiritual sustenance, right? It could be your church. Fantastic. Can you do that and put that intention out, and at the same time, without keeping score, know that it has to come back, pressed down and running over. Back to the parable of the talents. To him who hath shall be given. When I say showing up fully, that's what I'm talking about. I'm looking at how can I work with that law of receiving. I've been given what? Let's say that you've got a very little capital to work with. Okay, that's fine. So it's not like you need to go out and give away your capital. Okay, but let's say you've got ability. Oh, okay. So the parable of the talents, right? So to him who asks shall be given. Okay. So let me go demonstrate. Let me demonstrate that I hath, damn it. I shall now show up fully, and I shall do this work, and I shall impress you with increase, and I will have the the effect that I'm looking to have in the marketplace. Okay. And then what? I shall be given. You think of it like the tide. Those who outflow, inflow. The tide goes out, the tide comes in. What's my job? Send the tide out. You want that currency, right? The money, right? Send out the value. Press down and running over. And so when I look at the best investments I've ever made are in my own ability, education, right? Ability to earn, ability to do business, to show up more fully as a part of the solution in the lives of others who seek my counsel and buy my products and all that. Right. So I've invested, as I think a lot of you know, over $300,000 into books and seminars and getting out of my own way. I've been in my own way much of my life. So let me go make that investment. And I've made a bit more than 300,000. Right. So that was a good investment. Good investment. Right. By contrast, here's the person who does just enough to not get fired. To him who hath not shall be taken even that which he hath. You're fired. I like doing good work. I take delight, back to that word diligence. I take delight in the abilities that I've been, given to my own. And we all have this. I'm not saying, oh, look at me, I'm special. We all have this. Okay. Unique talents or combinations of a certain way that you express, your abilities and what have you. Right. Nobody else in the world can do it exactly that way. How are you serving? How are you giving? How are you putting that forth? Put that out there, right? The talent, right? You have. And now you demonstrate that you have. Well, great. Here's even more talent. Here's even more ability, right? Or squander it, use it or lose it. And why else are we here? I'll close with this and then we'll open it back up. Why else are we here? To tiptoe through life, hoping to make it safely to death? Have the damn experience. Like, do it. If not now, then when? Again, easier said than done, especially if you're in the thick of it. If you're walking through the valley, right? Sometimes you got to crap your pants a little bit. All right, go ahead and clean it out and then just keep on trucking. Because look, we've had our ups and downs. Nobody goes through life unscathed, okay? But that faith, that knowingness, that expectation, yes, expectation. You wouldn't have dug the ditches if you weren't expecting the water. You talked about Elijah, which I'm so glad I got to read this again, because I thought it was maybe a story of Moses. You guys know the story. Hey, go dig the ditches if you want it to rain. Go dig ditches. They're like, there's not even a cloud here. Why are we digging ditches? Right? And then it rained and it filled the ditches and they went and they won the battle. It was Elijah, not Moses. I got confused on that one. So So yeah, I dig ditches in my life because I expect it to rain. Metaphorically speaking, actually, literally speaking, we've had so much rain here in Phoenix. Thank goodness. It was like the driest year in 100 and like 120 degrees, and half the damn state was on fire. It's over. And it's a nice mild 105 degrees today. Very nice. I'm done talking. Somebody else commence talking, please.
Hi there, Mark here.
Hey, Mark.
Hi. I don't want to get caught up here, but I have not read the book yet. But I'm going to catch up next call. However, when you were talking about receiving, and I'm not surprised that it talked about giving, because what I have found is that when you learn something, you have to do the opposite. Like if you want to learn patience, you will attract a lot of impatience, so you understand patience, right? So that's the way it works.
Okay. Don't pray for patience. No.
No. So the expectation is like, well, I want more patience. I'm going to get patience, but it's not going to come the way that you expected, because it's going to give you a wave of impatience, so you understand patience.
Yeah.
So when you receive, there's a lot of what I found in my business. There's a lot of poor receivers out there, and there's a lot of givers, but when they don't know how to receive, they're probably thinking they have to give, and they're just not owning that 50%. I always say to my clients and people that I talk to, I said, I don't want 100%. I just want 50%, because I'm going to give you 50 and you're going to give me 50, which is going to equal 100%. So when we give and receive, we need that balance in anything we do. But it's the expectation that we'll never ever get, because it will never be the way that we want it to or expect it to. So I just like that part that you said, or whoever said that, about receiving was mostly about giving, and that's rightly so. That in order for you to receive, you have to know how to give. And sometimes you give, so you hide that you don't receive because of worthiness and all that stuff that you need to learn about yourself, so you actually can receive.
Right.
So that's what I had to share.
Beautiful, Mark. Thank you. Worthiness. You brought up that word, and that's a huge topic. We've covered it from multiple angles, but you just brought that up because I just kind of connected in my mind, where if I'm having considerations about my own worthiness or unworthiness, have I really released my intention? Right? If I'm still attached to that intention in a state of non-faith, right? Now I can sit here and deliberate with myself incessantly about, whether or not I even deserve to receive it. Holy crap. Talk about the endless mental gymnastics and indecision. Let's just decide, yes, it's good and right for me to receive. Fan-friggin-tastic. All right, so let's get on with our work then, since we already know it's coming, being delivered right on schedule. Again, easier to talk about, especially when you're objective about it. When you can see, here's Mark looking objectively at this person who is demonstrating their own, inner conflict, or, what's the word I'm looking for? Cognitive dissonance, right? But he's not in it. They're in it, right? So it's easy to see the third party. Right. Wow. Thank you, Mark. So glad you're here in our book study group. Yeah, you'll enjoy this book too. Lot of Christian references in this particular book, and he just brings them to life really, really well. Who else has some thoughts on this? Anyone else praying for patience? Don't pray for that. Oh my goodness. You guys remember the quote from Neil Donald Walsh? God, I keep asking, you say, ask and it shall be given you. I keep saying I want money. You never answer. And God answers, says, yeah, you keep saying you want money. Okay, you get to want money. Prayer is answered. So watch out what you say. All right, anybody else want to come on out? Or we can go ahead and wrap up if everyone's complete on these chapters. Lindsay?
A quick question. Most people will not argue with you about the law of gravity, right? I mean,
Usually.
they're pretty solid on that.
Although I think there's some people getting out of university right now with some very expensive degrees who might want to argue it just because,
Well, that's
yeah, right.
yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
These other laws, people, they just will not. They're not even a mere suggestion. It's like, I don't know. That just struck me as odd that these laws don't make it into people's minds, I guess.
Well, remember what Earl Nightingale said? We value that which we pay for. The mind is often neglected because it's free. It comes standard equipment at birth,
Hey.
right? So I paid for this stuff, man. I got stuff right here. This is valuable. This is valuable. See, I paid for that, right? But this, yeah.
Can I address that a little bit,
Yeah.
Lindsay? Because my experience is in that example you gave, gravity is something we can see, right? And we live in a society where if we don't see it, it doesn't exist. And where at one time, I'm hoping that where we actually intrinsically knew it, we understood it, this law of attraction that we've all lost. And because society now is so, if I don't see it, I don't believe it. And when you say the law of attraction, the invisible, when it does exist, they are almost trained not to believe you. And I think that's the problem of society in general. That's my hypothesis.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So we have 5 physical senses. We can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. My dog can do that. My dog can do that. Right. Thinking is the hardest work there is. Yeah.
I can't disagree with that.
Right. So well done, you guys. Great little book study tonight. We're going to cover 3 more chapters next week. So we just did supply, attraction, and receiving. Next week, please have read law of increase, law of compensation, law of non-resistance. And then we will conclude on the following week with the final 4, law of forgiveness, sacrifice, obedience, and success. All right, so 3 more chapters. I will see you guys next week. And invite a friend, jlsuccessmastermind.com/books. And again, this is brought to you by our actual members here at jlsuccessmastermind.com. So I will see you all real soon. Make it a great day or night.